Welcome to Dirk's Photography. My name is Janus Dirksen, and today we will take a look at images from the Fuji X100T. We see it down here. I've taken some images and I've made a selection with images straight from the camera. These are the raw files, unedited. In Fuji terms, it's ARF files. And I thought we would just go through some of these images and take a look. You see here the settings. It's f2.0, and I thought I would just give you some impressions that I made with the Fuji X100T compact mirrorless camera. Now, there are many people who are switching from Canon or from Nikon, going to Fuji or to Sony, the Sony A7 line or the Sony A9, or to Fuji to the X-T2, X-T20, X-T1, or the X100 series. And Fuji has really created or pushed a different level of photography, the mirrorless cameras. And I find it very interesting to take a look at the evolution where photography is going. And I think Fuji is right among the top companies that will lead or follow the new technology. So Fuji is a company that really is on the market for a long time in photography and has created a new way for itself to be successful with the Fuji X line, especially with the X100 series when it started before the X-T1. And all these images are straight from the camera. This image I took with the auto white balance, and the auto white balance is always pretty cold. The auto white balance tries to make a neutral color that fits everybody, and I usually like it warmer, so I don't use auto white balance. So if you ask how do the colors look like straight from the camera in auto mode, auto white balance, it will look like this. It will look cold. You have to set the Kelvin yourself if you want it warm. Just by the way, there are many photographers who are switching to Fuji, and I just wanted to try out, am I ready to sell my Canon gear to get onto Fuji? And I have to say I love my Canon 6D. Until now it lets me shoot everything. There is nothing I cannot do with the camera, so there is no reason for me to actually sell it. But I'm also interested in what others are doing, other companies, other technologies. So I thought I'd just buy it and take a look how it performs. Now it's a fixed lens. It's a 23mm f2.0 lens, which in terms of full frame camera is a 35mm equivalent. Now here you see some images at ISO 3200, and I think it still performs really nicely. It's a high ISO, and we see some grain here, but I think it's all fine. It's usable if you don't need to print very large. So let's head over to some portraits. Here we have Anna, and still all these images are unedited. There is nothing, I didn't edit anything here. It's straight from the camera. And I just want to show you how your images can look like straight from the camera. So if you want a blurry background, you have to get really close to your subject, even at f2.0. If you go further away, you will always see things in the background. And so there is a difference between this APS-C camera and the full frame camera in terms of background blur. As it is a fixed focal length, you are limited in a certain way to your focal length, and I'm not the 35mm fan. To me it's too wide, and so it was nice shooting with the camera, but now I'm selling it and my time with the camera is over. But I just wanted to share with you my experiences. Now this image, for example, I really like. I like the colors, I like the sun, the look, the expression, and it's a really nice image, and it doesn't need any editing. It works just like this, how it is. But often I like more compression in the image, especially when I shoot people. So I'm more a 50mm guy or even longer. So that's the reason I'm not keeping this lens or this camera. I also will edit these images just to take a look at how will the camera perform in shadows, how well can I edit the files. That's something that I have to go into in a different video, but just for now, I just wanted to show you images straight from the camera. And it's a really small camera. You can have it with you without any problem. And it will give you great images straight from the camera if you like the 35mm look, the focal length. Now, one thing that I noticed that is a negative point is the battery life. And I'm used to take 2,000 or 3,000 images with one battery on my Canon 6D. And I have 4 batteries for my Canon 6D, and I'm fine with that. For the Fuji X100T, I have 10 batteries, and they still don't last so long. So when we are here on this trip, 3 days, and the last day I couldn't capture because the batteries were all empty, and I thought I had 7 full batteries with me, and it didn't last. All 7 batteries were empty pretty fast. Now, that might also be the case because I bought the camera used, and maybe something is wrong with the batteries. But it's a huge difference from coming from a Canon full frame camera to a Fuji X100T camera in terms of battery life. Now, the camera also has a macro mode, so you can get really close and get fine details of whatever you're shooting. If you're shooting a wedding rings. And altogether, I think it's a really nice camera for those who like the 35mm focal length, who want a camera that is small, who want a camera where they can see the image before they take it. That is also a huge advantage of those mirrorless cameras. They are silent. You can see the image before you take it. And I think it's a great way to begin photography when you have a camera and you see, before you take an image, you see what happens when you change the aperture, when you change the shutter speed, when you change the white balance. You see what happens. And it's a great way to learn, I think. So if I would be a beginner, I think a mirrorless camera is the way to go. For me, as a photographer who shoots everyday photos, I'm sticking to the Canon 6D. It is just reliable, and I can't ask for anything more than that Canon 6D. But I also want to experience other things. Just for fun, I bought this camera. Here you see it. This is the only image that was taken with a different camera. And I can understand why people are switching. There is one photographer that I really appreciate. It's Damien Lovegrove, and he sold all his Canon gear and switched over to Fuji years ago, starting with the Fuji X100 series. And now he's using the X-T2, X-T20, and the GFX. Here again, I have an image for you with the auto white balance and with the white balance, how I set it. And all the other settings are the same. 1/500th of a second, f2.0, ISO 250. Here we have the same. So just changing the white balance can make a huge difference in colors. And these colors you can get actually with any camera. You just have to be careful with the white balance. So what is my feeling about this camera? As I said, I'm selling this camera again, the X100T, but it was a nice experience. I really like these images we see right now, and I don't think they need much editing. I could just leave it as it is, just like this. I just want a different focal length, and so I bought an X-T20 last week, which I'm going to test out now, and I will see how it performs. I will also make a video like this with the same images edited, so we see how that performs, how we can adjust the files, and yeah, that's it.